15 Walmart products will gradually disappear before summer. But the surprising part is that most shoppers won't notice until they come back and see an empty spot on the shelf. These 15 products aren't disappearing because of shortages. They're disappearing because Walmart is quietly changing what it wants to keep selling. If you think a product only disappears during a major crisis, what you're about to see will make you look at store shelves in a completely different way. While millions of people continue shopping like nothing has changed, major manufacturers are cutting hundreds of SKUs, and Walmart is constantly adjusting its shelf space to prioritize products that generate higher profits. In this video, we'll count down the 15 products sending the clearest warning signs and uncover the pattern behind every change, so you can recognize them before most other shoppers even realize what's happening. 15. Tide Original Liquid Detergent. Many people believe that a best-selling product will always have a place on Walmart's shelves, but that's not how Walmart operates. In retail, what determines a product's future isn't just how many people buy it. It's how much profit every foot of shelf space generates. And that's exactly why large bottles of Tide Original are entering their most pressured period in years. Just a few years ago, the large 132 to 154 load bottles of Tide Original were almost always prominently displayed at Walmart, typically selling for around $18 to $20 and frequently featured in rollback promotions. Today, however, many stores have raised the price to around $22 to $25, while those discounts appear far less often. But pricing is only the surface of the story. What's happening behind the scenes is Procter & Gamble's new strategy. Instead of focusing on large bottles of liquid detergent, the company is investing heavily in Tide Pods, ultra-concentrated liquid detergent, and more compact formats. They're lighter to ship, reduce storage costs, are easier to display, and generate higher profits from the same amount of shelf space. For Walmart, that's a much more practical choice. A section of shelf that once held a few large detergent bottles can now hold more boxes of pods, sell faster, and produce more revenue. If you regularly buy Tide Original, pay close attention during your next few trips to Walmart. The large bottles may be limited to just one or two options. The aisle displays may gradually be replaced by pods or ultra-organi varieties. Rollback promotions may also become less frequent than before. These are all familiar signs that appear before Walmart adjusts its shelf layout and cuts SKUs during its retail resets. If this trend continues through the end of the year, it won't be surprising if certain large bottle sizes become harder to find. So don't just look at the price of the bottle. Look at the cost per load. That's the number that reflects the real value. And if even Tide, one of America's strongest brands, is making room for newer formats, then the products coming next on this list are facing even greater pressure. 14. Heinz Large Ketchup. Something rather unusual is happening in Walmart's condiment aisle. Heinz is still the ketchup brand millions of American families know and trust, but the larger bottles are slowly becoming less common. Not because Americans have stopped eating ketchup, and not because Heinz has stopped making it. What's gradually losing its advantage is the large bottle format that many families still believe offers the best value. For years, buying a 38-ounce bottle of Heinz was almost always more economical than buying two smaller bottles. But as the costs of processed tomatoes, glass, plastic, and transportation have all increased, the profit equation has changed. Kraft Heinz is simplifying its product lineup to focus on formats that sell faster and perform more efficiently. For Walmart, a smaller bottle turns over more quickly, is easier to keep in stock, and generates more revenue per foot of shelf space. That's why the larger bottles are facing increasing pressure. That shift is already showing up in the price. In the past, many Walmart stores sold the large bottle of Heinz for around $3.50 to $4. Today, the typical price has climbed to about $5 to $6, while there are fewer size options than before. That's a very common sign when a company begins optimizing its product lineup instead of expanding it. You can see it for yourself the next time you're at Walmart. If there's only one large size left, rollback promotions have become much less frequent. There are more empty spaces on the shelf, or great value products start appearing right next to Heinz. There's a good chance Walmart is preparing for another shelf space adjustment. In retail, small changes like these often show up before consumers realize their familiar product is gradually losing its place. If your family regularly uses ketchup, compare the price per ounce instead of looking only at the shelf price. Sometimes the smaller bottle looks cheaper, but actually costs you more for the same amount of product. Heinz isn't going to disappear from Walmart, but the Heinz bottle that gives you the best value may no longer hold the same place it once did. And that's the part worth watching. 13. Quaker Variety Pack. There's a familiar paradox in the food industry. Sometimes the products families love the most are the very ones companies want to cut first. Quaker Variety Pack is a perfect example. For consumers, a box with multiple flavors is incredibly convenient. Everyone in the family can choose the flavor they like without buying 3 or 4 separate boxes. But for PepsiCo, that convenience comes with a much more complicated chain of costs behind the scenes. To produce a variety pack, the factory has to manage multiple SKUs, monitor inventory for each individual flavor, and ensure every box is packed with the correct mix. If just one flavor runs short, the entire process is affected. As the costs of oats, cardboard packaging, labor, and transportation continue to rise, products with more complex production structures often become the first targets for lineup simplification. That doesn't mean Quaker is going to disappear from Walmart. What's more likely is that single-flavor boxes, oatmeal cups, and the best-selling varieties will receive higher priority, while the variety pack gradually loses shelf space. It starts with fewer flavor options. Then rollback promotions become less frequent, and eventually there are fewer boxes on the shelf. A Quaker Variety Pack now typically sells for around $8 to $10, noticeably higher than it was just a few years ago. The mistake is assuming that because Quaker is still being sold, the variety pack is safe. In reality, the brand may stay, while the specific format your family prefers disappears first. If this has become your go-to choice, pay close attention to the shelves during Walmart's year-end retail resets. The products that get cut first aren't always the ones people like the least. They're often the ones that make the system more complicated to operate. 12. Great value food storage bags. If Walmart has complete control over the Great Value brand, then why would it change a product that's still selling fairly well? The answer lies in how Walmart measures the performance of every section of shelf space. With a private label brand, Walmart doesn't have to wait on an outside manufacturer. If a product no longer fits its new strategy, it can be adjusted after just one retail reset. Great value food storage bags are facing pressure from several directions. Plastic prices tied to petroleum continue to fluctuate. Manufacturing costs have increased, and Walmart is still pursuing its goal of reducing single-use plastic packaging while expanding more sustainable alternatives. As a result, instead of keeping a wide range of different bag sizes and styles, Walmart is more likely to focus on its best-selling products, updated packaging, or replacement options with stronger profit margins. You can spot these changes right in the store. A few sizes disappear first, the number of choices on the shelf starts shrinking, and the empty space is filled with new packaging, reusable containers, or products from another brand. Many shoppers assume the store is simply out of stock, but that's often a sign the product lineup is being restructured. Today, a box of great value food storage bags typically sells for around $3 to $6, depending on the size and quantity. The mistake is buying whichever box happens to be left on the shelf instead of keeping track of the exact size your family uses most. If that size appears less often, isn't restocked quickly, or gets moved to a less prominent spot, there's a good chance it's losing priority on Walmart's shelves. When Walmart changes one of its own great value products, it's not a shortage, it's shelf strategy. 11. Bounty Select a Size. Did you know there's a way to raise prices that most Walmart shoppers almost never notice? It's not by adding another $2 or $3 to the price tag. It's by quietly reducing the number of sheets in each roll. The packaging looks almost the same. The product name is still familiar, but the actual value you bring home is less. That's exactly why so many people feel like a pack of paper towels runs out faster, even though their usage habits haven't changed. Bounty Select A size isn't disappearing from Walmart. What's under pressure are the formats that were once the most popular with families. Over the past few years, the costs of pulp, energy, transportation, and packaging have all risen significantly, forcing Procter & Gamble to continually adjust its product lineup. Some rolls now contain fewer sheets, some sizes have been replaced with newer versions, and Walmart is also prioritizing products that generate more revenue per foot of shelf space. If a pack of Bounty used to cost around $18 to $20, many Walmart stores are now selling it for about $22 to $26, depending on the number of rolls and the total sheet count. But the price isn't the most important thing to watch. Take a close look at the paper towel aisle. If only a few familiar options remain, rollback promotions appear less often, the pallet displays in the middle of the aisle disappear, or Bounty Essentials, Rapid Cleanup, and Great Value products are moved into more prominent locations. Those are often signs that Walmart is preparing for another retail reset. If this trend continues through the end of the year, there's a good chance that packs with higher sheet counts will become harder to find, making room for smaller formats or products with better profit margins. The biggest mistake shoppers make is looking only at the price of the package. What you should check is the price per sheet and the total number of sheets inside. With paper towels, the first thing to disappear isn't the Bounty brand. It's the amount you used to get for the same amount of money. 10. General Mills cereals. If you grew up in America, you probably remember what it felt like to stand in front of the cereal aisle with dozens of different flavors to choose from. Cheerios, Lucky Charms, Cinnamon Toast Crunch, Trix, and Cocoa Puffs once filled an entire section of shelves. Every trip to Walmart seemed to bring another new option. But if you go back to that same aisle today, there's a very quiet change taking place. The cereal isn't disappearing. It's the familiar flavors that are slowly leaving the shelf. General Mills has repeatedly said that it's streamlining its product lineup to focus on its best-selling products. For the company, every flavor is its own SKU, which means its own production, inventory, and distribution costs. A flavor that only sells well during the holidays or has a loyal but relatively small customer base is becoming much harder to justify as the costs of ingredients, sugar, grains, and transportation continue to rise. This also fits the way Walmart operates. The retailer doesn't judge a brand by its reputation. It judges every individual SKU by its performance. A slow-selling box of cereal will soon make room for a product that turns over faster or generates more revenue from the same amount of shelf space. That's why you may still see Cheerios while your favorite flavor quietly disappears without any announcement. The warning signs usually appear early. The number of flavors on the shelf gradually shrinks. Rollback promotions become less frequent. Family-size boxes show up less often, or the empty space is quickly filled with the best-selling varieties. A box of General Mills cereal now typically sells for around $4.50 to $7, noticeably higher than it was just a few years ago, while the number of choices has become smaller. If your family always buys one specific flavor, don't wait until it's gone before you start looking for it. Start paying attention now. In retail, the brand usually stays around for a long time, but the flavors that hold people's memories are often the first things to disappear. 9. Reynolds Wrap Heavy-Duty Foil. There are very few products in the grocery store whose core material is almost impossible to replace. Reynolds Wrap is one of them. You can redesign the box, change the roll size, or shorten the length of the product. But the one thing that gives it its value remains the same: aluminum. That's also why Reynolds is directly affected when aluminum prices rise and import costs fluctuate. Unlike many other product categories, the manufacturer has almost no option to switch to a cheaper material while maintaining the same quality. As input costs increase, only a few choices remain: raise prices, shorten the length of the roll, or eliminate lower-selling specialty versions. From Walmart's perspective, this decision is purely economic. Heavy-duty rolls, extra-wide rolls, and specialty versions take up more shelf space but sell more slowly than the standard version. As merchandise costs rise, shelf space is prioritized for the products with the fastest turnover. That's why the specialty formats are usually the first to disappear, while the standard version stays around much longer. If you regularly use aluminum foil for baking, barbecuing, or food storage, don't just look at the price on the box. Check the roll length and compare the cost per foot of aluminum. Even a small change in size can leave you paying more without ever realizing it. 8. Equate vitamins. It may sound hard to believe, but one of Walmart's highest profit categories is also one of the most likely to see SKUs cut quickly. Many people think vitamins are small, easy to produce, and almost impossible to do without. The reality is much more complicated. What gives a vitamin its value isn't the plastic bottle on the outside. It's the active ingredients inside, commonly known as APIs, and those ingredients depend heavily on the global supply chain. For years, China and India have been major sources of many of the ingredients used in dietary supplements. If the costs of raw materials, import tariffs, or transportation change, the entire profit equation changes with them. For Walmart, keeping hundreds of slow-selling SKUs is no longer the most efficient choice. Instead, it will prioritize the most popular vitamins while quietly eliminating specialty products with smaller customer bases. If you regularly buy Equate, pay close attention during your next few trips to the store. When the number of choices on the shelf gradually shrinks, empty spaces begin to appear more often, or the vitamins you're used to buying repeatedly go out of stock without being quickly replenished. Those are usually signs that the product lineup is being reduced. This process can take months before it's complete. So if you rely on a specific vitamin as part of your daily routine, don't wait until the shelf is empty before you start looking for it. 7. Dove Multi-Pack Soap. There are some household products that have become so familiar that almost no one thinks they could ever change. Dove Multi-Pack is one of them. For many American families, a pack of 8, 10, or 12 bars of soap isn't just a personal care product. It's a practical way to shop. Buy once, use it for months, and pay less per bar. But in modern retail, the products that benefit consumers the most aren't always the most attractive to manufacturers and retailers. The issue isn't Dove. The issue is the multi-pack format. Unilever still has every reason to keep the Dove brand on the shelf, but it has less incentive to protect large packs that are heavier, take up more space, and generate lower profit margins. At the same time, the personal care market has been shifting toward body wash, shower gel, and products with more attractive packaging that are easier to price at a premium and often generate more revenue from the same amount of shelf space. Walmart looks at this very simply. The products that sell faster, generate better profits, and are easier to merchandise get priority. So Dove may still be there, but the familiar large multi-pack may gradually be replaced by smaller packs or more prominently displayed body wash products. The mistake shoppers make is seeing the smaller pack with a lower price and thinking they're saving money. Instead, divide the price by the number of bars. If you used to buy a 12-bar pack, but now only find a 6-bar pack at what seems like a more affordable price, there's a good chance you're paying more for every use. The thing that's disappearing isn't Dove. It's Dove's best value option. 6. Minute Maid Frozen Concentrate. There are some products that don't just exist on grocery store shelves. They also live in the memories of generations of Americans. Minute Maid Frozen Concentrate is one of them. Since the 1940s, those small cans of frozen orange juice concentrate in the freezer section have been a familiar sight in millions of American homes. Just add water, stir for a few seconds, and the whole family had a pitcher of orange juice. For decades, it was the most affordable and popular way to enjoy fruit juice. But after nearly 80 years, a familiar chapter in retail is slowly coming to an end. The important thing is that Minute Maid isn't disappearing because its quality has declined. The change is in the way consumers shop and the way Walmart calculates the value of every section of freezer space. More and more shoppers are choosing ready-to-drink juices or shelf-stable juices because they're more convenient. At the same time, a freezer compartment costs far more to operate than a regular shelf. If a product sells more slowly than frozen pizza, ice cream, or prepared foods, Walmart has every reason to reduce the space devoted to it. Coca-Cola, the company that owns Minute Maid, is also focusing more on faster-growing beverage lines while reducing lower-performing SKUs. That means the less popular frozen orange juice flavors disappear first, followed by the remaining sizes or versions. This process usually happens quietly through multiple shelf layout adjustments, rather than overnight. If you still regularly buy Minute Maid frozen concentrate, pay attention to how many flavors remain on the shelf over the next few months. When only 1 or 2 choices are left, or the freezer space is replaced with other products, that's a sign the product lineup is shrinking. The most memorable part isn't that a can of frozen orange juice may be disappearing. It's that even products that have been part of American life for nearly a century can be replaced when shopping habits change. 5. Scotch-Brite Scrub Sponges. At first glance, Scotch-Brite is just an ordinary kitchen sponge. But from a retail perspective, there's an entire global strategy behind that small product. Few people realize that whenever 3M decides to reduce its product lineup, the impact can reach thousands of Walmart stores in a very short time. For years, 3M has continuously reviewed hundreds of SKUs across its consumer products division to focus on the products that deliver the strongest performance. That means specialty sponges, multi-packs, and lower-selling versions have to compete much harder to keep their place on the shelf. As the costs of raw materials, manufacturing, and transportation continue to rise, maintaining too many SKUs is no longer the most efficient choice for the company. Walmart approaches it with the same practical mindset. If one Scotch-Brite product sells slowly while a great value version can generate higher profits, that shelf space will gradually be reassigned. Shoppers often think it's just a minor change on the shelf, but for Walmart, it's a decision made to maximize revenue from every foot of display space. You can usually spot these changes early. Some familiar Scotch-Brite products start going out of stock more often. The number of choices begins to shrink, or more great value products appear right beside them. These aren't usually signs of a temporary stock shortage. They're often the first step in a product lineup adjustment. If you've come to rely on a particular Scotch-Brite sponge because of its durability or scrubbing performance, don't wait until it disappears from the shelf before you start looking for it. Pay attention to the small changes now. In retail, products rarely disappear overnight. They usually send plenty of warning signs before consumers realize their familiar choice is gone. 4. Folgers Classic Roast. The most concerning thing for Folgers isn't that coffee prices are rising. When prices go up, shoppers can at least see it. What's even more concerning are the quiet changes inside the familiar container that millions of American families keep in their kitchens every morning. One day, you pick up the same can of Folgers Classic Roast you always buy. The price may have gone up only a little, but the number of ounces inside is no longer the same. The story begins with the global coffee market. Coffee futures continue to fluctuate because the world's two largest supply sources are both under pressure. Brazil is the center of Arabica production, while Vietnam is a major supplier of Robusta. As extreme weather, fertilizer costs, labor, and transportation expenses all rise, coffee roasters like J.M. Smucker can't keep Folgers at the same price forever. But Walmart also doesn't want a familiar product to show a dramatic price increase right in front of shoppers. That's why the solution often comes in the form of shrinkflation. The container still looks the same. The colors are still familiar. It still sits in the same place on the shelf. But the weight is reduced, or the larger size is gradually replaced by a smaller one. Shoppers don't see the price shock, but every cup of coffee is actually costing more. The biggest mistake is looking only at the price of the container. With coffee, look at the price per ounce and compare the actual weight every time you buy it. If the 30-ounce container disappears, smaller sizes become more common, or sales and discounts aren't as frequent as they used to be. Those are very clear signals. The important thing to remember is that Folgers may still be on the shelf, but the version that gives your family the best value is the one that's under pressure. 3. Frozen Swai fillets. Swai used to be a very practical choice for many American families. It wasn't as flashy as salmon, wasn't as expensive as cod, and didn't require complicated preparation. Just one bag of frozen fillets in the freezer gave you an affordable, mild, easy-to-cook source of protein that fit perfectly into budget-friendly meals. But that advantage of being cheap is starting to weaken. Most of the Swai sold in the United States comes from Vietnam. That means the product depends heavily on a cross-border supply chain. Farming, processing, freezing, ocean shipping, inspections, and import tariffs. As transportation costs rise or trade policies change, Swai is no longer just another fish sitting in the freezer. It becomes a profit equation that Walmart has to recalculate. Consumers are also making the situation more complicated. Some shoppers still choose Swai because of its low price, while others have become more concerned about its origin, quality, and imported farm-raised fish. When demand isn't strong enough while costs continue to fluctuate, Walmart may reduce its shelf space, cut back on bag sizes, or replace it with frozen fish that sells more easily. The sign you should watch for is whether the frozen seafood section still offers as many Swai options as it used to. If only one type of bag remains, there are fewer brands, or the product is frequently out of stock without being quickly replenished. It may not be a temporary shortage. If your family depends on Swai because of your budget, start comparing it with frozen tilapia, pollock, cod, or discounted seafood packs. At a time when supply chains are changing quickly, the smart move isn't holding on to the cheapest product. It's knowing the replacement before the cheapest option disappears. 2. Great value frozen juice. Many people assume that if a product carries the Great Value name, it's almost guaranteed to always be available at Walmart. That sounds reasonable since it's Walmart's own private label brand. But in reality, a store brand isn't a free pass. In some cases, it's actually easier to remove than a national brand. If Maid has to compete to keep its place in the freezer, then Great Value is under even greater pressure. That's because Maid still has Coca-Cola behind it, a company with marketing budgets, sales teams, and a strategy for protecting its shelf space. Great Value, on the other hand, depends entirely on a single decision by Walmart. If Walmart decides a category is no longer performing well, it can cut it immediately without negotiating with any outside manufacturer. That's exactly what's happening in the frozen juice section. Freezer space has always been one of the most expensive areas in the grocery store. Every section has to generate enough revenue to justify the costs of electricity, refrigeration, and inventory turnover. As consumers shift toward ready-to-drink juices and shelf-stable beverages, frozen juice concentrate is starting to lose its advantage. Walmart isn't going to eliminate the entire category overnight, but it may first reduce the number of flavors, reduce the available sizes, or shrink the amount of shelf space devoted to it. If you notice that Great Value frozen juice is down to just a few options, is frequently out of stock, or is being replaced by other frozen products, there's a good chance it's a sign of another product lineup adjustment. In retail, small changes on the shelf usually appear long before a product actually disappears. 1. Walmart pattern. After looking back at all 15 products on this list, you've probably noticed the most important takeaway. This story was never just about laundry detergent, ketchup, vitamins, or coffee. What's more important is that all of them are following the same pattern. That pattern usually begins with rising raw material costs. Next, manufacturers try to protect their profits by reducing package sizes or changing product formats. Then, they cut SKUs to focus on their best-selling products. Finally, Walmart adjusts its shelf space, giving priority to the products that generate more revenue per foot of display space. By the time consumers notice, the familiar product they relied on is already gone. This is how modern retail works. Walmart doesn't make decisions based on emotion or nostalgia. Every section of shelf space has to deliver the strongest business performance possible. If a product sells more slowly, takes up more space, or generates lower profits than another option, it will gradually be replaced. Not because it's a bad product, but because another product fits Walmart's operating model better. So instead of asking, which product is going to disappear, start asking, what warning signs are starting to appear? Pay attention to the number of SKUs on the shelf, package sizes, product placement, rollback promotions, and the growing presence of newer product formats. Once you understand this pattern, Walmart's changes won't catch you by surprise anymore. And that's the biggest takeaway from today's entire list. Through all 15 products in today's list, you've probably realized that what's changing isn't just a handful of items on Walmart's shelves. What's really changing is the way manufacturers and retailers make decisions as costs continue to rise. They don't wait until a product is completely gone before taking action. They quietly reduce SKUs, change product formats, shrink shelf space, and prioritize the items that generate higher profits. That's why smart shoppers don't just look at the price. They also pay attention to shelf placement. package size, and how many options are still available. If you regularly buy one of the products on this list, let everyone know which item has become harder to find where you live. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to share it with your family and friends so they can recognize these warning signs before it's too late.